Hello, everybody. This is Tracy Picerni here. I'm hopping on a couple minutes before Johnny comes on. He's actually here in the studio, and he just popped off. I think he's probably just trying to get things squared away on his end, but we'll bring Johnny on in just a few minutes. I just want to take a couple of minutes to get the audience connected and warmed up and able to find our video. Anyway, welcome in. I don't see anyone on yet, but I'm sure in just a few minutes you'll be finding the video live stream. So I just wanted to welcome you to tonight. I reached out to Johnny because I said, hey, there's an incredible opportunity to talk a little bit more about residential property and some of the changes that Fannie and Freddie have been putting out there, which is advantageous to the investors. 5% down. We're going to be talking about that tonight. And Johnny's going to be coming up on with me in just a minute. I see he's here. But I just want to get everybody warmed up and say hello. And if you would just drop your name in the comments, that would be tremendous. Let me know where you're from. Where do you invest? Why are you here? What do you want to learn about? Drop your questions also in the comments so that we can get to them towards the end. And maybe elaborate a little bit more detail, get to the heart and soul of why you're here, and be able to assist you a little bit further in getting you all the information that you need. We're certainly not going to have a comprehensive night and an overview of everything, because obviously that would be for you to sign up for Johnny's masterclass and for his mentorship. That's where it gets more specific and more guidance. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. I'm going to be dropping some links in the comments as well. And I'm going to introduce Johnny here. Johnny is a real estate investor, of course, and a coach. And he manages a $10.2 million real estate portfolio. You'll find him on social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. He's an Air Force officer. We thank you for your service, Johnny. He's a book author and an apartment syndicator and founder of REI Genius. He runs master classes, coaching, does lots of hands-on live stuff. I see him all the time on Facebook, sharing what he's up to. He's not just teaching it, he's actually really doing the things. So you're going to see Johnny out there in the space, doing things, showing you hands-on, walking through properties, and all of those things. So I love watching what he's doing. He's tremendous. Certainly an expert in the multifamily and apartment and syndication space. And it's such an honor to have him join us in just a few minutes. If you could comment for me who you are, where you're from, where you invest, I would absolutely love to hear from you and connect with you. I'm going to drop in the chat a little handout just to give you a little overview of some of the information that we're kind of talking about. If you want to take advantage of that, feel free to do that. I'm probably going to have to toggle over to Facebook because I cannot comment on my StreamYard. So my apologies for that. But I do the best I can with what I've got, right? So anyway, I'm going to bring Johnny up in just a couple minutes. You guys drop your name in the chat while I get this link in here for you and find the live that's happening. Oh, yep, I see it. All right. Give me one hot second here. I can get that in the comments for you. And then if you want to, you can grab that resource for yourself and follow along with us tonight. Anyway, when I heard the news about the 5% now new required down payment for the duplex, triplex, and quadplexes, I thought, wow, this is an opportunity to jump on and to share this good news with y'all, because so many people that I talk to want to get into this space, and some of the things that hold you back is the financial down payment. So this is going to be advantageous to you, I think, and going to be really good. Okay, I think I dropped that. Yep, I dropped it on Johnny's link. Johnny, there's a PDF that I put on your actual post. Anyway, it's for anyone who wants to kind of follow along with our discussion, if you'd like to do that. I'm just having a little bit of a hard time finding it in my group. So just bear with me for 1 second here while I get this straightened out so that we can get the information in front of you. I think that will be super helpful because there's a lot of questions when it comes to the financials and when you're diving into these kind of things for the first time. Again, drop your name in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Any questions that you might have as we go along. Johnny, I'm going to bring you on up. Hopefully, we're going to have a good live stream event. Hey there, Johnny. How's it going?
What's going on, Tracy? Good
Oh
to see
my
you.
gosh, it's so good to see you. Thanks for hopping on like last minute. I know I kind of hit you up yesterday, actually, with, hey, do you want to talk about this? And you're like, heck yeah, let's do it. So, how are you doing?
Doing well. Busy as ever, which is a good thing. And I think really just kind of as most people just taking it in stride with the changes that continue to happen with the economy, with the real estate market, and just continue to navigate that space. And what I encourage people now is that continue to do great deals and look at ways that we can negotiate and turn those good deals into great deals.
Yes, love it. I love that you always have to be on your toes and creative in the real estate space. I mean, there's always things that are happening. But hey, we haven't had a lot of great news lately, but this is some good news. And when I heard about the changes that went from, the owner occupied multifamily um, requirements for Fannie Mae and Freddie to go from 15% to 5%, I thought, hey, this is really worth putting out there and highlighting because the advantage to this for so many people that are trying to maybe do house hacking, which we'll get to in a little bit, and kind of capitalize on less out of pocket to get into this. Why do you think they went ahead and lowered that? Was it like a risk assessment situation, or what were they? What was the motivation?
Oh no, that's a great question. I'm not 100% sure and haven't read anything that kind of what led to them kind of bringing or releasing some of those restrictions that we've seen when you start looking at traditionally investment properties. I know in the past, the duplexes, the quadplexes that they qualify for FHA financing, but there was a lot of loopholes, for as the amount of being able to having it be self-sufficient with the rents for the other units had to be enough to cover a large portion of the mortgage and things like that. That eventually, as you get in higher price properties, kind of self-eliminated. But a lot of times that you see with the federal government, with the federal agencies, that they make decisions and make rules in order to create a reaction in the market or to create demand in this case. And so I think there was something in that space where they wanted to lower the entry barrier for others to get into housing. And so I think that's what's going to be the end result of this. Whether it's going to be good or bad, drive more demand. I think a lot of that still to be left to be seen. As we actually go through and we kind of live this reality the next 12-18 months.
Love that. So, for someone who's just kind of stepping in, I don't know if we're freezing or not. I feel like we're glitching a little bit here. Let me know if you're hearing me okay. And drop in the comments a hello for Johnny and thank him for coming. So last minute. I'm so grateful. But let's just kind of back up to the person who's just hearing about the difference between residential and multifamily and the qualifications and what would be types of properties that would not qualify for something like this.
Yep, I think as it's primarily the unit count, whereas that this is geared towards 4 units and below. Of course, the conventional mortgages already allowed for 5%, as low as 5% down with conventional mortgages, and so this just really opens up the aperture a little bit further with taking it out to 4 units. So, but when you start looking at the multifamily space, that anything 5 units and above would be considered commercial and wouldn't be used, because I think one of the rules, especially when you kind of talked about the house hacking side, is one of the rules is that you're required to live in at least one of the units. And a lot of times you can talk about the time frame. I think 1 year is usually, at least on the FHA side, the government is kind of allocated, and especially like for the VA loan, which is another one backed by the government, that they require you to make at least one of those units your primary residence for at least 1 year.
Got it. That's great information and super helpful when you're just navigating the complexities of all the information that's in front of us at all times and changing all the time. So I'm seeing a date of is going to be effective November 18th of this year. So for people who've just purchased property in the past 6 months or so and did not have that advantage, obviously that's just kind of the way it rolls. I don't think there's going to be any thing that they can capitalize on just with this change that's come. It's kind of like you're out of luck. So if you're getting into it, it's probably going to be really wise to at least wait until this rolls into effect. So let's talk about house hacking. Tell me how, when we look at the advantage of an appreciating market in a lower price point area. Okay, so we're capitalizing on both those aspects, which I think is tremendous. I'm from Colorado, and I know that if I'm going to get a duplex or a triplex or a quad up in Denver, let's say, I'm looking at $1 million.
Okay.
And so for most people, that's probably going to be tough to come up with that down payment for someone just entering into the market. But you look into these appreciating markets that are lower price, let's just say Alabama, Tennessee, Ohio, places like that, and you're just starting out, and maybe your property is like 200,000, and you have like a duplex situation. What's the rough numbers off the top of your head that you might be able to get in that lower price type housing scenario, and then offset and still cash flow while living in the property? So, what's your rule of thumb for that extra money that would be above and beyond cash flowing? Is it like 200 a unit, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think you want to always be looking at, okay, what is the investment side of this? One, you're going to be living in there, and you're going to reap the benefits of that just with the ownership side of it, with being able to reduce your personal mortgage and that expense that's burdened on you. But I think one of the big ones is looking at the other units in the cash flow. So I think from that perspective, you want to at least be making to at least $200 a door. Right now, in certain markets, cash flow is continue to decrease, especially as you see the higher interest rates. That right now, cash flow is at a premium, just because it's hard. But I think a lot of times that you also have to look at the other benefits of real estate, with the annual depreciation each year, that you get, with the eventual mortgage pay down each month that's coming in from the units that you're charging rent on, and appreciation over time with the property going up in value. So I think we kind of got to look at all four of those major areas, and in addition to the cash flow. But in some of these areas, you can do really good, because you think about it. You're talking about a $500,000 property before November 18th, you would have had to put 20% down. And so you would have been looking at $100,000 down payment. And now that $100,000 down payment goes all the way down to $20,000. And so I think that's the thing that we have to look at and understand is, that now, it's a lot of people that can save up to get $20,000 to get into their first multifamily property, compared to, saving their first $100,000. It's a big difference. And so I think that's the piece that, a lot of people need to look at as investors, and how to get started and how to build wealth. That if you look across the last 2 centuries, that I'm not saying most, 90% of the millionaires, the reference is, have been created through real estate. And if you look at millionaires and billionaires right now, the large holding that they have is all in real estate. And so I think, and I talk about my journey and how real estate was able to take, somebody from, backwoods Alabama, started at zero or a little bit behind zero, coming out of college. But real estate was that vehicle and asset class that allowed me to level up and to be able to bring my knowledge, apply it to properties, buy low, hold long term, sell some, higher price, and continue to move up and buy multifamily, buy larger properties to build wealth.
Got it. I love that. Owner occupancy requirements. How do they differ between investment properties, multifamily versus investment? What's the requirement for, or the key pieces for being, able to utilize this advantage that we're seeing? What qualifies you?
Yep, I think with all this, it's still a conventional loan, so you're going to be beholden to your lender, their underwriting, the traditional debt to income ratio. So one of the things, especially in this current economic environment. You want to make sure you have the highest credit score possible when you're going in to apply for your loan. Also, you want to make sure you understand that you haven't maxed out credit cards or credit lines. You want to have those as low as possible, at least below 30%. And then also you want to make sure, to as you improve that score, you have a good credit mix of loans, lines of credit, auto loans, personal loans within your history, which is going to allow you to amplify your score and your score will go up. So you want to definitely be able to qualify. The thing with this is that the residential side of this, that you have to live in one of the units. And so that is the big piece with this, whereas that, every investor can't go out here and just get a 5% loan and just rent it out for all 4 units. That this is primarily geared towards, allowing other individuals to live in and actually benefit from those units. So I think that's the subtle requirement. But I know a lot of investors that are flexible, that'll be more than willing based off their lifestyle. They may have a small family, may not be married. And this is what I tell my young airmen in the Air Force is like, look for a multi-unit. Look to use your VA loan and get into a multi-unit property as soon as possible, where you can instantly become a landlord and you can start building wealth as soon as possible, because time is your most critical variable to building wealth. The sooner you can get started with investing, the better off you're going to be long term.
Got it. And at about 20% of payoff, I'm guessing you need to notify the lender so you can get the PMI knocked off. Is that correct? Because nobody's calling you, right?
Yep. Yep.
You need to call them. And I think a 620 FICO score, is that typical for conventional? That's the barrier. That's like the lowest.
Yeah, I think that's the lowest. And I think that number, you want to be as high as possible, because in this environment right now, I think underwriting is getting a little bit more stricter with what they're looking at. But I think you bring up a great point with the conventional, with the PMI, that after you get to that 80% loan to value, that you can drop off that private mortgage insurance, which is a great benefit, because you look at the FHA program, that PMI stays with the life of the loan, that regardless of how much equity you build up, that you're still going to be paying that PMI off the top.
Love that. Yeah, there's, you just have to look for every little thing and be on top of it, because, like I said, nobody's going to call you to let you know that you paid your 20% so you can get
Right.
your savings. Oh my goodness. So let's talk about something creative here. I was thinking about this. All right, like, you're a parent, you have college age students, and you want to buy a duplex or a triplex because you want to be able to take advantage of having your student also be on the title and the deed, so that they can gain an appreciation for their credit score or develop it, grow it. But you're also co-signing, you're with them on it, and then you're renting it out to other students perhaps. And now you have no mortgage and you're building up your college student to better prepare them for when they exit to be homeowners. What are your thoughts on that scenario? And can you expand a little bit more on that thought?
Yeah, no, I think that's a phenomenal strategy. Then I think all this comes down to strategy, whereas that you look at your lifestyle and how can you integrate real estate into it to be successful. And I think, going off to college and figuring out how you can benefit from, you're gonna have to pay for housing for your student anyway. Why not, buy a multi-unit where they can benefit and live in one of the units and have, 1, 2, or 3 other units that's paying that mortgage down for you. And so I think that's the one of the benefits that you have to just continue to look at and understand, does that fit within your lifestyle? And so I think that's a great strategy to do that. Whereas that now you probably have to look at the lender rules with that, with it being your primary residence, and how do you work that with your child to kind of figure out that. But outside of it, that I think it's a great way to start that strategy off, because I'm a huge proponent of individuals looking to buy rental property when their child is born and using it as a savings plan, or instead of the the 529 plans that you have. How about you buy a property and then you pay it off over the next 18 years and you gift it to them, whereas now they can tap into the equity, they can sell it, they can do a HELOC, but it's theirs to own, and the process, and you benefited from ownership all those years with depreciation is going up in value. They've paid down your mortgage over time, and now you have that asset at the end of 18 years that you can hand over to them. And so I think this is just a great way to leverage real estate for something that's happening already, for another life event that's happening with your child, and being able to benefit from them, and then being able to benefit for all, because most universities aren't going anywhere. And so, that rental income would be something that would be fairly consistent.
I like that. Yeah, being creative, especially with the exorbitant costs of tuition and any type of savings that you can capitalize on. I see there's a question here. When you house hack a multi, how long do you have to live there? Somebody was saying they think a year. Is that what you mentioned just a little earlier? You
Yeah.
did say 1 year was the requirement. Um, so, what are the key factors in choosing a property? I know you had mentioned in the past when we've talked before, of course, it needs to be a deal. There's the key factors of it needs to cash flow and all of the things. But now what has shifted or changed with the current climate of our environment right now that we're in financially as a country? How are we shifting to other areas? Are we looking for upcoming areas that are going to appreciate and move into? I mean, you're not going to pick the hottest markets because those are going to be too competitive. But what is your criteria for choosing an area? Are you looking outside of Alabama and Florida right now? I know that's your primary target.
Right. Yep. No, I think that's a phenomenal question, because there's so much changing in the economic space, especially real estate market. I was looking at data today that was just talking about the winners and losers, just for 2023. I think Austin, Texas was at the bottom with a 10% correction for its prices in 2023. And so I think, you look at Alabama, like right now, affordability is the key. In the past, a lot of operators that we look for the growth markets, where they're expanding, where all the jobs are coming, with the increased population growth. So you look across Texas, with this major metro areas, Florida, the Phoenix market. So all these areas were great, with job growth, as well as population growth, with a lot of people moving there, whether they're retirees or they were actually coming to still be in the workforce. But I think at the end of the day, right now, I think affordability is key, and Alabama is at the top of the list when you start looking at affordability. But even with that, there's deals everywhere, and I tell my clients this, when you look at a market, that for the right price, that a deal is a deal wherever it's at. Now you need to look at, well, okay, is it the location? Do I like the location? Because where you buy, you can't up and move it. And so location's extremely important. One of the things that I work with my clients and we talk about is where we want the median income to be. When we start looking at zip codes, we want to understand, okay, what's that threshold that, when you start looking at below $40,000 a year median income, how does that bode towards the delinquency rate in that area? And so that's one of the things that we look at. We really don't try to go below $40,000 for its median income. When we're looking at these areas, we stay away from high crime areas. You want to understand the crime statistics in that area. How do they compare at the national level? And understand that, because those are going to be two critical factors that you want to look at, as well as schools. Schools are another big one, with understanding, hey, who am I going to cater to? Who's my avatar for this property when I get ready to rent it out? Are people going to be attracted to this area, or am I going to have a hard time getting quality residents in here to keep them long term?
So when you're house hacking and you're actually living and occupying one of the units, who is managing the property? Is there a discount? Is there a savings? Is there anything that you could share um, more about if you were living there and managing the others? What does that look like? What are the responsibilities? Or do you usually outsource all of that?
It depends. It depends. If I've seen it both ways. My wife and I, we manage one single family property, well, a couple single families that we have in Alabama and in Florida. But we do that, whereas that she is for as the IRS standpoint, she is a real estate professional. She spends over 750 hours a year dealing with real estate, managing those properties and managing our businesses. So now all of our depreciation and passive losses we can bring towards my active income. And so that's one strategy that we employ. But for the far majority, we have professional property managers that manage. I've managed one of my multifamilies 18 unit for 6 months while I was in the market to get that experience. And so it is a challenge. And so I would say, look at your time and value your time. I would argue that most real estate investors, if you're serious about scaling, adding more properties to your portfolio, I would challenge you that, that 10% that you're going to save by not paying a property management company, that your time is more expensive than what you're paying that 10%. So if you're getting $1,500 of rent, that $150 for managing that property a month, you're underselling your time, because that's time that you could be dedicating to finding your next property that's going to be building wealth and adding to your portfolio versus, dealing with any issues with the resident. And so I think that's one of the things that a lot of investors, that they don't value their own time, and that they want to save money in the near term by managing and self-managing, but they don't put a dollar figure on how valuable that actual time is. Because if they could take that time and find two more properties to add to their portfolio every year, and they're bringing in $20,000-$30,000 of equity with each deal, why would you save $150 a month on property management when you could be finding that next deal that's going to bring you in a lot more money and help bring in more cash flow?
I love the practical solutions of that. If you're just joining us, please drop your name and comment where you're marketing. And if you could also, if you have any questions, throw them out at us. We're here today with Johnny Lynum. He's an expert in real estate investing with apartments, multifamily, syndication. He's a coach. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. He manages a $10.2 million real estate portfolio. He's an Air Force officer and author. I think we're in good hands tonight to talk about multifamily and the changes that have come our way in a positive way, with the 5% required down payment through Fannie and Freddie, which is conventional loans for the duplex, the triplex, and the quadruplex. So when we're talking about, like, for instance, an FHA loan, comparing them, how many people are really even going for FHA? Are you seeing more people strategizing for OPM? Still, even aside from the 5%, what's the main pulse out there for how you're recommending most people go after acquiring their first?
No, I think it goes into by any means necessary. So for some people, it may be a VA loan that have that resource at their disposal. For others, it may be this conventional loan. For others, it may have to be FHA. Whereas that, they might not necessarily qualify for the conventional, but they do qualify for FHA, which you can get into, a FHA property 3.5% down. But we talked about with the PMI, you're gonna have that for the life of the loan. And so there's different scenarios from everyone. I think definitely the first step is understanding where you are from a credit perspective, understanding, different loan options, working with a mortgage broker to identify the different loan programs out there that can help you. But I think the biggest part of all this is you got to take action. That there are different loan products that can get you there and to get to that solution, but you got to look at the best one, because you may run across a duplex, triplex, or quadplex that won't qualify for a conventional loan just because it may need a roof. It may have damage to two of the units that are down to the studs and things like that, where they wouldn't qualify, or they may, have vacancy, and so they're not producing income right now. So what loan product do you have in your toolbox as an investor, or as a someone looking to get into their first property that will use it as a primary residence? What loan products are out there that can help you accomplish your goal? And so I think that's the big piece, is kind of starting with the end in mind, and then looking back, okay, now based off of the property and where I am right now financially, do I need to bring in another investor with someone that can provide capital, since I don't have all the money for the down payment? Or if I'm a veteran, can I use my VA loan with my 100% no money down financing to get into this property? And then just from there, just figuring out what's at your disposal in order to get the deal done. Because every deal is different, every property is different. And so you just need to kind of look and see what options you have and take action. Because I think that's the biggest thing that separate those who find success in real estate. It really comes down to those who take action and get it done. Because all of us get the information. We watch, live podcasts like we're doing right now. We consume the YouTube content. We read the books. But for whatever reason, and I was at the same place, I had to have my transformation to go from broke Johnny to woke Johnny. And I think the big thing with that is that at some point you got to put all the literature down, the knowledge, and you got to start applying it. And getting that first deal is that first step.
You're preaching to the choir. I say that all the time to my group. You can't be obsessed with, I need to know more. The I need to know more is making you completely miss the mark. And, time is not going to wait for you. You've got to get moving. It's to my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you can actually get up to 75% of whatever your other units are producing and leverage that to showcase income for qualification. So up to 75%, I think, is the new regulation changes for any of the other units that are bringing in money. And then you can leverage that as your apparent income to give you that boost. So, like you were just describing, for a person required to take maybe an FHA loan because they don't have the FICO score that's really going to be enough to get them, the other options for the better interest rate. How can you leverage the 75% to your advantage for the others without it being almost not advantageous if you're looking at it in a terms of a cash flowing situation?
Yeah, I think that's something to definitely look at, because if you're buying a quadplex and you're charging $1,000 a month for rent in those 3 units, and so with $3,000 and 75% of that, $2,250, that's to help you qualify. So that's additional income added on to what you're bringing in with your W-2 job and the other sources of income that you have. That's a great asset that to have for that income. And in most cases, that's going to provide a nice chunk of your mortgage. And so now you're looking at most of your monthly housing expenses being covered by your property. And so that's one of the ways that just frees up so many other options with your income by being able to do that. So I think that's phenomenal to look at that percentage. And then that's just 75%. So you got the other 25% that's actually still coming in
Mhm.
on top of that. So now you got a full $3,000 a month coming in to cover. That's a nice chunk of change. And so I think it behooves everyone to kind of dig in, understand where they are, understand their area, where they want to live, and start figuring out that process. And that's something that I work with my clients. We're going through that. We get our data, we figure out our buy box, and from there, then we execute our marketing. We work with brokers, whereas that now we can get these assets and get access to these owners and work directly with them to make deals happen, whether on the investor side or on the residential side with someone that's looking for their first multifamily as a residential property. So I think it's a phenomenal opportunity.
It sounds like there's just one advantage after the next. I mean, I can't see why anybody wouldn't jump on it, especially with the 5%, the change from 15% to 5%. So let's get really creative here for a second. What scenario would it be fitting for you to do rent bedrooms out instead of just like a unit? Maybe there's multiple rooms within the unit. I know it can get a little tight, but in what scenarios have you seen that work well? Where you're charging per room?
Yeah, so there's different opportunities. Whether it's your midterm rentals, there are a couple programs out there right now with veteran homelessness where they provide grants to certain individuals, certain organizations, whereas that they'll pay you by the bed in order to house homeless veterans. I think there are other programs out there as well too, with like assisted living and things like that, whereas the individuals are paid by the bed. And so if you're able to partner with some of these organizations that are looking for properties, whereas they have large enough bedrooms where you could get two twin beds, whether it's assisted living, you have the right modified floor plan. That those are some programs and opportunities where you can partner with those companies that cater to those certain individuals. That now that property is valued at a whole nother level just because the amount of income that it can provide with the assisted living piece or with the veteran homeless program. So there's programs out there, things like that, that are in the different markets that you can use to an advantage for you as the landlord in order to bring in more income, and still with that value side of being able to give back to the community and provide a well-needed service with going after the veteran homelessness problem that we have across the U.S., but then also with assisted living as more and more baby boomers getting older and older and are required to, live in type of situations where they can't live alone.
I got it. If somebody is an elderly person that owns a multifamily, I was just doing a deal in Tennessee where it was an elderly person. They owned the multifamily. Well, actually, it was a triplex, and they were very concerned about, getting that amount of cash because it was a cash deal. And my suggestion to them is put it in a family trust and then allocate the funds to whoever is going to be like your power of attorney or whatever. What can you recommend to people that there are some people that have had these properties forever and ever and they've just always had them. How can family members, children, people in the family that are going to eventually inherit them, what's the best
Right.
strategy to avoid overtaxation and keep that asset protected?
Yeah, you said it. Having a trust in place, whereas that you as an individual or your LLC aren't necessary, or it could be your LLC and the owner of the LLC is the trust. Just different ways to own title. But the last thing that you want to do is be that individual where your name is on the deed, on the title to own that property, because then now it's going to actually have to transfer through probate in order to transfer to your next of kin. And so one of the ways that you avoid that is by having the trust that owns it, because the trust survives you. And so you can lay out in the trust all the rules and how you want things to be divvied up, when you want things to be divvied up, at what age, if you have minors, and your estate attorney will lay all that out with the different options, and to include your insurance policies can be made out to your trust as the beneficiary. Whereas that now, when you leave this earth, that you own anything and everything is in a trust and it's executed exactly how you want it, and you don't have to worry about going through probate with paying attorneys and and paying taxes to transfer your wealth to your loved ones.
Got it. Thank you for that. What role does having an emergency fund play in maintaining a positive cash flow? What's the rule of thumb for those that are just getting started to know, like, what's my safe amount of money? Is it a percentage of the total amount owed, or how do you factor that in?
Yep, you want to look at least taking back at least $100 to $200 per unit that you want to have allocated for emergencies, expenses. For small properties, I would say 4 units and below, take about 10% of your cash flow, or your not cash flow, but 10% of your monthly rent. Would dedicate towards putting back for maintenance and future capex or future large expenditures. When we say capex, capital expenditures, which kind of includes like your roof, your HVAC unit, kitchen cabinets, things that you don't normally renovate on a routine basis, and so they have a longer lifespan. And so you want to be able to save for those expenses. So when a roof comes up that you have to replace, that you're not surprised that you've been saving for it over the life of the ownership and things like that. And so the cash reserves comes in, that you want to be able to sleep at night and know that you're covered if anything comes up. And having that reserve set aside. I know on the multifamily side that we look to kind of set back at least between 100 to 200 dollars per unit a year. And so the larger properties, whereas that now you have that money set aside for maintenance that comes up, for annual maintenance and things of that nature. So having those cash reserves are there. You have the money there, but it's worthwhile to cover you, because the last thing you want to do is be in a position where you're not covered.
Yes. How can a house hacker, is there like a roadmap, a strategy to align their real estate investing strategy for the long haul? You're starting off as a house hacker probably because you're frugal. You don't have the money to outlay for maybe another type of investment. So you're starting there. It's kind of your way to break into the market. How does that align with your long-term goals?
I think I kind of hit on it, with taking action and doing that first deal, that we all start there somewhere. For me, I started my VA loan. I bought one side of a duplex. And for others, it's they're starting young. They may buy a 4 bedroom home, and the first 2 3 years of home ownership, they may look at leasing out the individual bedrooms on Airbnb, or just finding local roommates, and or leasing out your basement. And so there's just different opportunities that you can leverage the property, or you may just lease your entire home on Airbnb. And when somebody comes in to stay, you may just go get a hotel or crash with a friend. And so it's things like that where you can be creative with way different ways to start building wealth, but you just got to start. And so you got to figure out what works for you. I wouldn't recommend a young lady, a woman to kind of, you know, have different roommates and things like that. So you got to look at your lifestyle, the risk factors with all of that, and kind of make a educated decision on what's the best strategy. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to have a strategy that they're executing each and every day. When you wake up, you're waking up on purpose with a strategy on how your actions are going to take, whether it's just going to work, whether it's working on a side hustle, working on your own self-employed business, whatever you're doing, everything that you need to be doing should be rolling up to your short-term goals and your long-term goals with building wealth. And so I think real estate is one of those asset classes that the majority of all of us can benefit from being able to operate and being an owner.
I love it. How does property appreciation factor in to the house hacking strategy? I mean, what should investors consider when they're looking at the market and they're looking at the appreciation of the market? How do they know when to increase rent and all of those sorts of things?
Yeah, that one is it's a little bit of science and an art. Because if you push too hard on increasing the rents, you may lose a tenant, and now you got to go through with all the costs that come with turning the unit over and making it rent ready again. But at the same time, you don't want to be losing too much money, because as inflation goes, your expenses are going higher too. So being able to keep up with market rent, usually it keeps you from where is that you're not coming in at a loss each month, from where you would have been if you kind of stay stationary with your rent. But I'll tell you, I have a couple properties where I haven't raised the rent where I should have, where I could have, not necessarily should have. But I know the individual that they wouldn't have been in a position where they could have paid. And market rent is market rent, because that's usually what they're charging around everywhere with the similar type property. And but I know for that individual that it was probably better off for them, and it allowed them to have some additional capacity at the end of each month by not paying more than what we were charging them for rent. And that's one of the benefits of having a broader portfolio. That in some markets you're getting your market rent. In other markets you may be a little bit behind, but that's okay, because at the end of the day you're managing your portfolio, and you can do someone a solid or have a little mercy in one area, where you're not making as much money as you want to, but you're being a decent human being by giving somebody that's trying to get up on their feet, may have been down on their luck, an opportunity. So it's definitely a challenge. Having a professional property management makes those decisions a lot easier. They have those conversations on a personal level. When you're self-managing and the residents, it makes it a lot harder, if you're a compassionate person, to be able to go through and pivot the business and take the person out of the picture from the individual themselves. But I think the market rent piece is something you can look at and kind of track. That's usually a known commodity, and you can kind of look on the market as well. A great website to check that out is rentometer.com, where you can put in the address and the number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and it'll let you know the rent that you're charging, kind of where it is on the scale, whether you're average, not charging extremely low for the area, or if you're on the higher side for the area. So that's a great tool that they can use to kind of gauge where they are right now for what they're charging for rent.
What should be a part of like a well thought out exit strategy for someone who's moving on from the house hacking scenario of the property that they're living in, and they want to convert it to a full rental, um, for full rental use?
Mhm.
Is there a transition or anything that's a key element there of you moving out? And I don't know, I'm just asking. Um,
No, it should be pretty straightforward. Just kind of understanding whether you're going to put it out there yourself. You can leverage Zillow to list your property by yourself, uh, and from there, you can do a back. You want to definitely do a background check. You want to make sure you run a credit check as well too, and understand just where they are with their history of paying bills. Make sure they don't have any charge offs for utilities, things like that. Make sure to verify that they don't have any evictions, and definitely want to have references there too, to do it. But should you move out, you find your next place, and then you put it up for rent, or you hand it over to a property management company who's going to do all those things for you. And and it should be fairly straightforward.
Got it. So professionals that you would want to get involved, are we talking about an accountant, an attorney, financial advisors? Who's your team? Like, what aspect of what type of people do you need to have kind of that you're, cross-checking yourself and you're making sure that you're making wise choices and that you're covered for taxes and all of those things?
Yep, most definitely. And you said it, for us professionals, and I tell people it's not how, it's who. And so the more professionals, the more experience that you have around you, the better off you're going to be, whether it's your property management companies that you can lean on, whether it's your attorneys that's reviewing your leases, your paperwork. Most property management companies have attorneys on their roster in some capacity, on retainer. So they're covering you on that side. But also having a real estate investor mentor, somebody that's already invested, that has experience, that can help you navigate certain pitfalls and avoid issues and avoid risk and avoid costly mistakes. Also you want to have on there your CPA that understanding the tax liability, making sure that you have a strategy when it comes to taxes and your real estate portfolio. And I think one person that a lot of investors overlook is a bookkeeper. So as you scale up and start getting more and more properties, you want to make sure the accounting. So if you don't have a property management company, you may need to look at, do you want to invest in a bookkeeper to help you keep your books together throughout the year? So those are some of the key people to kind of think through. But whatever strategy that you want to go off and start exploring, that find others that are doing it, whether it's people at work. If you don't have anybody, no real estate investor meetups, find somebody local. Tracy has a community. I have a community. Find other investors who are doing whatever it is that you want to do and get around them. And guess what? Closed mouths don't get fed. So ask questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, because there's always somebody that's learning. There's always somebody else who probably had the same question that was scared to ask. So lean forward and put your best foot forward to get whatever it is that you need right now in your investing journey.
I love that. And so important, like you said, to engage in the communities that you choose to be in. And one thing I'm sort of recommending, not only to myself, that I've been kind of doing lately on social media, is just paring down and narrowing who we're following. I think one of the confusion is, yes, there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of knowledge, and we could spend all day listening to these sorts of things, which I think is highly valuable if you find your community and your tribe that you connect with, and you
Right.
genuinely connect with that leader, and you appreciate them, and you feel good about it. But what I'm trying to do is just pare down on the following and just limit yourself to, who are you going to listen to? Do you need to listen to 20 people? Can you listen to one or two and then just trust the process of that leadership and just lean in really hard and lose the distractions? I know there's a lot of people, at least I know I've dealt with it myself. It's so easy to get off track and distracted with all of the different gurus out there and the different advice that they give, and get confused. We can really sideline our own pathway and really create a lot harder and longer process when we spend exorbitant amount of time trying to find the perfect solution, the perfect mentorship, the perfect plan. I don't know about you, Johnny, but I don't think one exists. But yours is pretty close to perfect. So I'd love to talk about that in a second. I want to also ask for questions to be thrown out there. I want to throw it over to the audience. If you have any questions for Johnny or myself, be happy to answer you. I'm going to throw a couple questions up on the screen. And while I'm doing that, Johnny, if you could share a little bit more about REI Genius, your community, your master class, because I would love to see a couple people hop right on and join tonight, because I just think that Johnny has done a tremendous job. He's so hands on with his community. That's one thing I love about what you're doing. And I love just seeing you out there in the setting of real estate, in the homes that are being flipped, showcasing that, walking the properties, teaching your students. You're just highly engaged. And I don't see that in a lot of other mentorships, to be quite honest. Usually it's very scheduled, but you're kind of just always out there. And I love that about you. So share with us a little bit more about what you have to offer. What can a student expect? What's your community all about?
Yep. No. I think I definitely appreciate the introduction. That's one of the things with my military service, I've been taught, you need to lead from the front. And if you're talking the talk, you need to be walking the walk. And that's the thing, that I do that, whether it's getting out inside of my portfolio or working with my clients, being hands-on with them, that we kind of go through that process. But I love to help veterans and retirees and other busy professionals learn how to invest in multifamily. That's my passion, my goal, because it changed. Investing in multifamily, I came up as a single family fix and flipper, doing the bird strategy, and multifamily changed my life. It took it to a whole nother level. So just working with clients and leading them through that personal journey for themselves, whether they're looking to leverage their, previous employer 401ks or IRAs, showing them how they can leverage self-directed retirement accounts, or, where there's someone that's coming in that's looking to become an operator and invest in real estate and build a team around themselves, that just kind of showing them their whole process from going direct to owner or working with brokers to get deals, how to manage the deals, manage the construction, put the deals together from a financial perspective, and then execute once you have it. And so I think that's the thing that we kind of go through, and we have a good cadence where we have accountability sessions once a week. We have the live sessions with myself, and we continue to bring in different brokers. This week we had a broker who's from Orange County, California, that focuses on 2 to 25 units. So we had a great conversation with him this week. And so just continue to grow and facilitate that process for each and everybody, because everybody's strategy is different. And so understanding, where they are right now from a time perspective to dedicate to real estate, and also from a monetary standpoint on how much the resources that they have at their disposal, putting a custom strategy together around that now they can execute, where they're not trying to do something orthogonal to everything they do in their daily life. And 3 months from now, they're burned out. And so we try to avoid that by having a custom strategy for them, and then just giving them the tools they need to execute at that point.
Love that. This is awesome. Johnny is here. For those that are just popping on, we'd love to hear from you, where you're from, what your name is. Let us know where you're marketing, and if you have any questions. I have one on the screen there for you, Johnny. And I can't read the name of the person, unfortunately. We only see Facebook user on our end. But do you know the stipulations, what stipulations there are with using a VA loan for multifamily?
No, that's a great question. So the largest stipulation that you can look at is, it's kind of the same across the board on multifamily or single family. The debt to income ratio, they're going to be looking at your credit score and understanding that, making sure that you have your VA loan entitlement. You still have that entitlement that's available for you, of course. But outside of that, it needs to qualify for the property, whereas that it can't be in dire condition, where it can't be completely dilapidated, whereas that the roof, the plumbing, electrical, all those major components have to pass an inspection. So you may not be able to go into like a fixer-upper type property. I bought in foreclosures with my VA loan. They weren't multifamilies, but they were regular, single-family homes, but they were in decent condition. They only needed cosmetic work. They don't care about old carpet, old cabinets, old appliances. They don't care about those things that much. So those won't be a barrier. But for the most part, it's just the process. I encourage you to find a mortgage broker or a lender. Whether it's your credit union. Most lenders they do provide VA loans. And so, just finding one that you like working with, maybe a current bank that you bank with right now, or may not be. But I encourage you just to kind of go through and let them underwrite your profile from your income and everything. They'll let you know how much house you qualify for with your purchase price. And then from there, you can start going shopping and start looking for deals.
I love that. Awesome. Let's see what we can throw up. Another question. I think we've got one here. What other ways can you find the owner if skip trace information didn't work?
Uh, it depends on the skip trace information. So if you didn't get the phone number, but you have their mailing address, because usually if you pull the tax assessor website for the address, that it'll tell you where the tax bill is being sent to. And so a great way, if you have a one-off property, one way that you can do that is by sending a certified letter that somebody has to sign for it. So if you have the address where the tax bill is going, you can send a certified letter, let them know that you're interested in in the property. You can send a current picture of it, and just go from there and leave your contact information.
Awesome. I threw another question up there on the screen for you.
So if you're move into a full rental, should you take the property out of your name and place it under LLC? You can. The mortgage is still gonna be in your personal name if you bought it in your personal name, of course. From a liability perspective, um, you may be better served with just getting an umbrella insurance policy that you can get for probably $500-600 a year to give you like $1 million on top of your liability coverage with your rental policy, to kind of be excessive that in case somebody falls, gets hurt, and they try to sue you, that umbrella policy will kind of give you that liability coverage there. So it just kind of, it depends. You don't necessarily have to move it to LLC, especially since the loan the loan would still be in your personal name. So
Got it. I do not see any other questions, which surprises me. We must have been so informative that we gave all of the information that could be burning in everyone's minds here. But if you have any additional questions while Johnny's here for the next few minutes, drop the comments for us, and we'll throw them up in the screen and get those answered for you. We're talking today about the reduction requirement of the down payment from 15% to 5% on Fannie Mae and Freddie required down payment for the duplex, triplex, and quadplexes, and how important that really is for you if you want to get into this type of investing. This is an incredible opportunity to save a lot of money up front. And here's how I would do it if I were thinking about moving forward with this. I would look at the savings of that, and then I would apply it to a coach like yourself, and that would cover the cost of my coaching, because now we're going to invest that anyway. So with the 15%, now you're saving 10%, and I would then recommend walking the journey with someone experienced like Johnny, because now you're going to have somebody who's going to hold your hand, who's going to push you, who's going to bring all the value, all the knowledge, everything that you need to get that done properly. Because the last thing you want to do is make costly mistakes. What do you see out there, Johnny, of people who are trying to just kind of dive in, uh, feet first, and they really don't have the guidance or the proper knowledge, and they're just kind of winging it?
yeah, I think that's a place that you don't want to be. A lot of, I went to a local meetup this past weekend, and one of the things that I see a lot with people don't know where to get started. They get caught up in the terminology, they get confused, it becomes overwhelming, and and I hate to see that, because real estate at its purest form is simple. We're using fifth grade math, we're adding, subtracting, we're doing a little multiplication and division, and that's really it. But there's a lot of knowledge that goes behind it that helps you become confident knowing to how to make the right numbers. And so I think, the largest benefit that I have seen to my community, whether it's just myself, my other coaches that I have on the roster, is being able just to give people that confidence and assurance to double check their numbers, to review the inspection report, to review the statement of work that the contractor is giving them, to kind of go through and kind of be that sounding board where they're going through these issues that we all know that's going to come up. Or, you're going to tear this down, and you're going to have termites, you're going to have this that was unexpected, and things like that. We're having somebody that you can turn to where you're not suffering in silence. You're not being that lone ranger entrepreneur or investor that's just trying to go through and bootstrap your way through. And you're just going through and you're getting depressed, you're getting stressed out because you don't know the next step to do, and you don't have those people in your network that you can lean on. And so that's the thing. It can get really, really lonely, going through that journey by yourself versus having that like-minded community that you can lean on that's going to hold you accountable Whereas that now you're going to see that growth that you want in the next year, the next 3 years, 5 years to get to those goals that you're setting for yourself. And then if you don't have goals for yourself, that's a whole nother problem that you need to start working through and understanding how to define those goals where you can continue to live each day on purpose.
I love that. Really, shortchanging, or I should say, shortening your path when you have experience working on your side, looking to make sure and ensure that you're not making the costly mistakes. You're not stressed out, like you said. You can get pretty frustrated. You can get yourself pretty deep into a deal, and I've seen it in my group and in other places where people have had a bad experience and they turn tail and run from real estate investing
Yep.
altogether. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
We don't want that. That's the opposite of what everybody should be doing or wanting here. So, if there's any other questions, I'd love for you to drop those in the chat. But otherwise, we're at a full hour here, Johnny, and it has been tremendous spending this time with you and really learning from your experience and your expertise and how generous you've been in sharing that with this community. We're live streaming on YouTube, Facebook. I think you're on LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm not sure where you're streaming, but you're also streaming on your end as well.
Yep. On Facebook.
Yeah. So I'm glad we're getting this out there. A lot of people will watch this on the replay because it was kind of last minute, didn't have the full on opportunity to advertise. But if you're interested in joining Johnny's mentorship, I did drop in the chat a comment, or sorry, in one of the comments in all platforms, the link that you can click on to navigate over to his page where you can get more information about his mentorship, his coaching, and get started. I mean, 5% down on this strategy is maybe not something we're going to see forever and ever. I mean, traditionally things change, right? They can go up in a heartbeat. And like you said, they're testing the market. They're kind of probing to kind of get some momentum and reaction. And this could be just a sweet spot moment for many of you that want to dive in. And, I just think it's a great opportunity, and I can't thank you enough, Johnny, for hanging out. Johnny, do you have anything else you'd want to add or say or share before we close out tonight?
No, the big thing that I'll kind of get off the stage with is take it serious. Take your legacy and taking action towards your future and where you want to be. Take it serious. Passive income will change your life. Real estate is a great vehicle to get there. And I just encourage people to figure out what it is, your passion, or whatever it is that you're good at. Find that skill set, that niche that you focus on, get really, really good at it, and look at different ways on how you can increase your income, because that is one of the things that is going to save the day with being able to create multiple streams of passive income in order to produce that time freedom that everyone needs and everybody wants. And so I think a lot of people, they give it lip service, or they want to invest, but at the end of the day, they don't take the actions and take the steps that are necessary to get there, unfortunately. And so be part of the 1%, the ones that are actually going to take action and they're going to make it and see it through. And you'll be glad that your future self will be glad that you did. So, if I can leave anybody with anything tonight, is to, take action, because you have less time than you think.
And it spurned on a thought in my mind. So a lot of my audience does wholesaling. And if you were to get a wholesale deal done and get a $10,000 assignment fee and do a $200,000 duplex, let's just say, and then you drop the 5% down, now you're at 10,000, it's a wash, but now you're going to cash flow that property and it's just going to be that passive income. So you've converted your assignment fee, which you didn't have the day before you got it, okay? And you just transfer that right over into, now you don't need the loan. Now you're just paying outright cash. You're dropping the 5%, which is really all that's necessary if you do go that route. So it's, to me, it's a no-brainer and it's achievable in one deal. I don't know. What do you think, John?
It is. I agree. And I would love working with wholesalers just because they understand the marketing, because the marketing and being able to get the deal, especially in this environment, is critical. So if you already know how to find deals, now you just need to learn how to own and control the deals where you're on the ownership side, where you participate in the equity, you're able to build wealth long term, and you can still get your assignment, get a part of your assignment fee up front, and still build equity on the backside and with the ownership. And so being able to find the deals and now figure out how to transition as the owner instead of just the seller is what kind of takes them to that next level. So I love it.
Yes, find those lower priced markets, jump into it, get Johnny's help, get my help on the front end, get his help on the back end. And I think you'll be in really, really good shape. Thank you so much, Johnny, for your precious time. I know you're a super busy guy. And I can almost guarantee I'll see you on Facebook sharing some kind of wisdom with your crew. I'm lucky to be a part of that as well, to be exposed to all that you share. And so thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Oh, it looks like somebody does have a quick question. Do you have a buy
Okay.
box? And that might be a wholesaler asking if you have a buy box, Johnny, and what it is and why.
Yeah, I have a buy box, 2 to 40 units, which I know is a kind of large swing, but 2 to 40 units. B, C class properties, a value add component where we need to come in and do some renovations, and the units are below market rent. We like to buy in, non-war zones. We don't do war zones, and if the property, it's got good bones, we look to be at 1970s build or newer. And yeah, so I think those are kind of the big requirements there.
I love that. So if you're a wholesaler and you happen to be listening and you're looking for multifamily properties, or anything we just described in the I can't even speak anymore, Johnny. I'm losing it. The duplex, the triplex, and the quadruplex, the residential type properties. Send them over to Johnny. Your market's Florida and Alabama, but I've already
Uh,
sent you something.
Primarily, they can send me from anywhere. I'll take a look at it. The deals where my team will look at any of the deals, for its multi units in the
What's the
states.
best way to contact your team? Do you have an acquisitions manager that you could drop a link in the chat that anybody who wants to add you to their cash buyer list as we're speaking could have that contact information that they could reach out to your acquisitions person?
Yep, they can send it to Johnny at johnnylynum.com.
Okay, if somebody is kind enough to drop that in the comments, for other people that are going to be on the replay, that would be fantastic. See that? You showed up tonight. You guys hung out till the end, and you just gained a tremendous cash buyer, because Johnny's buying all the time. So I love that. So anyway, thank you, Johnny. I'm going to hang on for one more minute afterwards and just say goodnight to everyone, but I'll let you go. I know you're busy. And let's do this again. I would love to hang out with you again. Johnny's link in the chat if you want some mentorship, some serious coaching to get you over the line, get you out of sitting on the sidelines, hanging out and just wondering about it. Take advantage of this 5%. Don't know how much longer it's going to last, and utilize a stellar coach like Johnny who's going to get you into this, and not only just get you into it, but get you super pumped up and excited about it, because I know Johnny is like high energy, like intense, high vibration type person, some people will say. And I think that you're going to love his energy, and that's going to just make you so pumped up to do more. So email again, please. Could you tell us what that is again, Johnny?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Yep. Johnny, JOHNNY at johnnylynum.com. JOHNNYLYNUM.com.
Love it. Thanks, Johnny. Have a good
All
night.
right.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye now. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. It was very informative for me as well, doing some research on this up front, and wanted to get this value out to you because I really felt like we're hearing a lot of negative things in this real estate space with inflation and the high interest rates, and people aren't selling their properties, and everyone's holding on to their homes, and the market has stagnated a little bit. All predicted, of course, but the 5% to me was really worth getting it out there to you and sharing this information, because I know so many of you really truly want to get into this type of property, maybe even a house hacking scenario, depending. And I just feel like the 5% savings is, or sorry, the 10% reduction on that down payment is tremendous. So I also have some great people that are, have capital investment firms. Um, Dr. Erin Hudson, she was on a week ago with me. If you catch that, check out the replay. But if you're looking for some help with the capital raising and all of that sort of thing, please drop a comment in the chat. I can get you connected to Erin. But it's been tremendous. Johnny has always been such a blessing, really, to this community and so generous with his information. Utilize the link that I dropped in the comments if you're interested in joining his mentorship. I think we've showcased a variety of ways that the savings is there and the opportunity is there, and you have a stellar expert that's willing to guide you every step of the way in this venture. Don't sit on the sidelines, get moving. I also wanted to mention I just authored a book, and it is going to be out for release in a couple of weeks. I created it's a Christian book. It's a devotional book for women entrepreneurs. And I just wanted to marry faith and business. So I blended the two together, and I'm really proud with what I put together for y'all. For anyone who's interested in that, I would absolutely love to get a copy of that in your hands. I'll be promoting that a little bit more in the group. If you are open to learning more about being on my launch team and you have an interest in that, drop a comment and we can chat. But nonetheless, here we are. I believe I'm going to be having a couple other guests coming up in the next week or two. I'll be dropping some information on that as well. So we're just getting started in the fall season. It's hard to believe we're closing out October. I don't know about you, but where has the time gone? It's just flying. We're going to be ending our quarter, and I'd love to know, how are you finishing this quarter strong? Are you still on the sidelines? Are you getting out there? Are you doing the things? Are you applying the things that you're learning? I sure hope so. And thank you so much that you'd love to read my book. I appreciate that more than anything. It was uh, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, really, through my own personal entrepreneurial journey. Interjected a lot of my own story in that, and then just the principles, pulling it all together for you. And I think it's an important, really an important topic, because there's a lot of ladies that really do want to put God first in their business. And I really wanted to provide a resource for you that I think would be a stellar, really just a nice companion guide to get you going. So thank you so much, everyone. If you have any questions for me, feel free to drop those in the comment. I sometimes will be able to go back and answer those. But we are streaming live. I don't know if any of you know, but I do have a YouTube channel. I'm going to drop that YouTube channel link in the chat, and that way you can connect with me over there as well. I'd love it if you would give me a follow, and I'd really appreciate that, because it's really hard to grow, as you know, on all of the social media platforms, as well as I am also on Instagram. If you would like to follow me over there, I'm doing a little bit more business centric topics uh, over on Instagram than I have been recently as much on Facebook. Just trying to kind of reboot my Instagram. You know how it is. It's hard to do it all. But nonetheless, thank you so much for your time tonight. It's been tremendous. I will drop those comments for all of the social links so that you can follow me on those other platforms. And I really enjoy this time. So if you have any requests for specific exit strategies, I'm going to try and get Dr. Hudson to come on and do a little bit more information about container housing. She actually has two container housing villages, Airbnbs, and it's a tremendous way to save money and get that out there to you, a very niche market. I love that. I also became friends with a fellow who in Idaho who does the mobile home parks. He's got a whole pile of places all over the country. Love to bring him on and showcase a little more information about mobile homes, container housing. Let's do car washes. I got somebody on car washes and storage facilities. Um, all kinds of connections when you hang out with me. So I would love to bring that to you and offer all of those opportunities because I think, sometimes we have to think outside the box. It's not just all about the standard traditional exit strategies that we think of, but we need to be creative in this market. So finding the best ways to save money up front and then utilizing lower cost exit strategies that can be tremendous. And I love the fact that the niche of them creates less competition, and the lower cost factor to enter into those markets, I think, is definitely worth checking out. So I also dropped a PDF copy of tonight's conversation in the comments. If you didn't see it, scroll back to the top. You'll see a little guide there that you can print out, or if not, you can keep it on your computer as a reference to our conversation. Gives all the details on the Fannie and Freddie reduction on the down payment from 15% to 5%, which is what we've been talking about tonight, in case you're just hopping on. So anyway, I wish you all the best, and it's fantastic hanging out with y'all, and we'll talk real soon. Take care. Have a good night.